Lynda, welcome to the Easy Conversations podcast. Thank you for coming on here today and joining me for this conversation. Really excited to chat with you. We've had the opportunity to have a conversation before too, and what really jumped out to me is the work you're doing and my personal interest as well in the dream state. I think it's a very fascinating thing, and I don't think we completely understand what happens in dreams or what our consciousness is, but there's a lot to be understood about that and what kind of information we can draw from it. So I'm sure we'll get into all of that, and I'll definitely share some personal experiences along the way. But before we get into our conversation, I do want to give you an opportunity to share with the listeners who you are, what's brought you here, and what are you doing in the current chapter of your life.
All right. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Conversation. Thank you so much for having me and sharing space. Yeah. My journey began really early in my life. It began with a deep early loss. My mother passed when I was 2. And all along growing up, that couldn't really name it, but it was really grief that was festering within me and showing up as functioning anxiety and overdoing and over pleasing and always outsourcing outside of myself
Mhm.
to feel safe. And of course, at 2, we don't understand grieving or when someone passes. And so it was always thinking that I wasn't doing enough,
Mm,
which really hit that core of worth and self-worth and lack of. And so the one thing I had along the way was my dreams. They were always very vivid. My mother would come to me in my dreams. And so eventually I stopped chasing and I
mhm,
started going in and I started really working with my dreams and connecting. And that became the heart of my work, guiding others to do the remembering and not the fixing. I was always fixing myself, trying to fix myself, be what others wanted. And it was the remembering and guiding back here
mm,
that brought me back to the connection of my own wisdom, my soul, and just remembering who I am and
mm.
why I'm here. And
Yeah.
so that's really why I love to guide others to come inwards because it's so empowering. It's so powerful.
Yes.
So instead of filtering through the mind's analysis, we're going straight in. And plus, I was super busy. So I'm like, why not do this when we sleep? And then it works throughout the day with us. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's what brought me into that. So I do what I do.
No, amazing. Thank you for that. So it's interesting, right? Because you're talking about remembering and we're talking about dreams. Are you able to connect the dots? Like, how does the dream state allow us to remember rather than fix? Like, what's going on in those dreams or that state of consciousness we're in? Specifically, most of our dreams happen during our rapid eye movement sleep. So, what's going on there? And I do want to understand that because I feel like there's something profound there. And the reason why I'll just get into it. I also practice eye movement desensitization reprocessing as a form of therapy. And again, very similar eye movements, right? And you're able to process trauma and look at it from a different lens. And it's amazing how quickly people are able to reframe these experiences that perhaps have debilitated them for years. So, is there a connection there with the eye movement and what's going on in our brain and that state of sleep?
Right. One, we're bypassing the rational mind when we're sleeping and in our dreams. We're not trying to figure out what's happening and then dissect it and excavate it through our mind. We're actually learning to feel. Our dreams teach us to feel, teach us to be vulnerable. And once we can get into that, then the soul speaks.
Mm,
The inner wisdom on the subconscious can come through and sometimes scream like through a nightmare, right?
yeah.
And so the default mode network is the ego. All of that is offline.
Mhm,
And the thing to remember is when we wake up in the morning, we have these big dreams. we want to excavate it. We want to figure it out. We want to outsource again to dream dictionaries and now AI instead of learning to feel. Dreams teach us to feel. And in
Mm.
society these days, we are not feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what does that look like when you say to feel? Because a lot of the times you're seeing certain things, there could be people will tend to label and say, I had a good dream or I had a bad dream. But what I'm hearing from you, and maybe this is my interpretation, that don't necessarily label it, just feel it for what it is and maybe look for the wisdom in what you've experienced.
Yeah, beautifully said. So we would take like a dream symbol, and normally we might want to figure it out. What does that mean? What does
Mhm.
it represent? And we go to the dream dictionary and we reduce the living personal symbol that the soul has sent us. So, what would it feel like if we took that symbol and let ourselves feel that throughout the body and then let it unfold throughout the day? Example, I had a client who was dreaming a wolf, and the wolf was thin and lifeless and needed nurturing and loving, brought the wolf home and the wolf just slept. And then if we feel that I am the wolf, where is the part of me that's lacking nurture to self,
Mm,
whether food or love? And we can really allow that to unfold and come through the heart and kind of be a bit vulnerable. And sometimes a tear can come out.
mhm.
And that's the feeling of it. We're moving any type of resistance. Where am I doing so much and I'm not coming here? And so it teaches us and shows us even, and I don't look at bad dreams or good dreams,
Right.
those nightmares, the inner being is screaming at us, please listen. And it can be repetitive. We can have these repetitive ones. Same thing. It's asking us. Once we just say, okay, could we be a little bit more gentle? And I just want to feel the symbol come through. What are we feeling? Is the tightness in the shoulder? And then the symbols come into our daytime.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And are there common themes that take place? I know you said the tendency is to go look at the dictionary and say, okay, what does this mean to interpret it? But are there common themes that you can touch on based on your experience and what you've come to understand?
Yeah, and I'm really looking at every symbol in our dream as us. And so houses are a big one, buildings, houses, structures. And we really want to look at those as where am I at? Am I in the kitchen? What does the kitchen look like? Is it a mess? Is it clean? Am I asking? And what do we do in the kitchen? One is nourish, food, create, communal. And is that what's asking to either be cleared because it's messy? Like I need to clear that up because my creativity is really wanting to burst out. Or is it clean and ready to get going, ready
Yeah.
to start, ready to begin? If we're in the basement, is it flooding? Is it cleared out? Do I need to ground more? We're looking at our sacral center and I need to ground. So we're looking at the different areas of the house. What do the walls look like? And it's going to show us that's our vessel, that's our structure, what needs tending to while we
Mm,
sleep, our activity and actions during the day.
yeah, for sure. I've had experiences where you're touching on buildings. I think there was a period of time, it hasn't happened in a long time, but where I felt like I would be falling off the building. And I've heard other people share similar experiences. So I am curious, like, what is the messaging behind something like that?
Yeah, so we would first ask, what did the building look like? And
Mhm.
what did it feel like to you falling off the building? What did that feel like?
It was scary, and I would definitely wake up, like, it would be and I would actually physically move as if my body was responding to that fall, and then that would the intensity of it would wake me up.
We have a few things
Yeah,
that could be happening. One, because you're jerking and you're
yeah.
waking up, we could be in that liminal space, that other backside of sleep
Mm,
where our creativity is expanding. Are you traveling while you sleep and coming back into the body? And that's the jerk.
mm.
And symbols can have many meanings. It can all mean the same thing. Are you being asked to take a leap of faith in life? But it feels fearful, but being asked to jump. I had one where I was jumping off a cliff and I was falling, and all of a sudden the water got shallow. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna hit. That's a huge hand came out and caught me, which then told me, okay, I am afraid to take this leap of faith, but I'm also being shown and held. For something like that, you could incubate that. You could say, okay, I need more clarity on this jumping. Am I being asked to jump? And incubate that into your dream that night. It may take a week, it may take a day, it may take a year for it to come through, but we're really unattached and really paying attention to the symbols that come through.
Yeah.
So in addition, during the day, we want to bring the imagination into all this because everything moves through that. So what would it be like to rescript that dream? I jumped and I was caught. I was traveling when I slept. If I knew what I was experiencing, what would that be? And then trusting. So we can see where dreams begin connecting when we're working on connecting to our own intuition, our own trust within, because we began moving everything inward other than outsourcing. Yeah. Because then if you go to a dream dictionary in AI, you're looking at somebody else's meaning, not your own. It's fun. And I do it myself.
Yeah.
But I ask people to work with themselves first. And then that might be, we love to outsource and validate, of course.
Yeah. But so what I'm hearing from you is just be more curious, sit with it, and spend some time during the day to work through it. A lot of the times I've heard people suggest that, really journal about it or write it down when you wake up first thing in the morning when it's still fresh. And then, because there's a lot of times you forget immediately after regaining consciousness and waking up. And so it is often recommended, but just want to see your thoughts around that in terms of working through it while you're awake and during the day as well.
We do forget it. Even if we wake up in the middle of the night, we have a symbol or a dream. Oh, I'll remember it in the morning, because the last thing we want to do is take time to write things down when we're sleepy. So I have a lighted pen and a journal. I always suggest dream tracking alone is fine. It builds cognitive abilities, increases in our brain. So what that would look like is you don't have to write the whole story, because sometimes we're busy, right? We're off to work, we're off to get our kids to school or whatever comes forward. And dog, red car, house, something that's going to help bring it in later when you can sit with it, or just allow that to run through your body when you're brushing your teeth, when you're taking a shower, and just let that kind of move through you without needing to figure it out, letting it reveal itself through you. And you might actually see that symbol show up during your day.
Interesting. Yeah. And when you say dream tracking, what does that mean?
Writing down our symbols, not having to write the whole story out.
Okay. That's helpful. And the other thing you touched on right at the beginning, but you also shared with me when we chatted last time, but the whole processing of grief. How do you do that in your sleep and in your experiences with dreams? And I do have a follow-up question on that too, but let's maybe just talk about the processing the grief part first.
Yeah, because grief festers within us. For myself, it was the anxiety, it was the depression. How it shows up in dreams can be very cathartic. We may feel in the morning the emotions. We may not even know why we feel sad, why we woke up, when we woke up, or mad or angry. But to honor those as grief being processed, they can be processed through nightmares for the longest time. And I did a lot of grief processing, and I was unaware. I used to have this dream, and it was a nightmare of Michael Myers, the Halloween. Oh, he'd show up in my dreams all the time. It was always so scary. I was just like, and I don't even want to go to sleep tonight. And finally, when I started working with dreams, I allowed him to just be in my dreams. And I ended up, and how we see grief being processed through this, it was my fear of looking in within myself. was I had a dream that he was sick on a bed and I was holding his hand, helping him heal. So you could see how the grief process itself. So it's not like doing a lot.
Mhm.
It's really about soul. What am I ready to receive? Dreams. What am I ready to receive? I have this grief I want to process. We may wake up in the middle of the night crying, like tears coming out of our eyes. And then the first thing we want to do is, why am I crying? Instead of, oh, I'm having a release. This is grief, how it's releasing through me. And if we allow that, the next day we can feel very calm. And then we honor the sadness that came through. We may have that nightmares that keep coming through because the inner self is going, listen.
Yeah, absolutely. And along the same lines, what does it mean when you see people or someone that's passed come in your dream?
Interesting enough, my father just passed and he was just in my dream the other night and we were on an airplane, right? In the upper consciousness. There's a message there for us, yes, because we are the mirror. However, I feel like the one thing that we all need here when someone passes is the comfort, the healing that they're okay, they're happy. And I had a woman I was working with, and she lost her daughter, which was just so sad, ripped at the heart. And we started working together, and we started getting her more into her REM sleep.
Mhm.
And her daughter came to her, and it was one of the most healing dreams. And it's a different feeling, right? It's a different feeling we have when we have a visitor. My mother would come in, and so when the body knows, when the soul knows that we're ready to heal, that's when those loved ones that have passed
Mm.
come in. And just even speaking about it, I have chills running through my
Yeah.
body because, my dog comes through all the time. I've
Mm.
had so many beautiful dreams about my dog. And there was one I had, and you always see them back in their healthy state,
Yeah.
right? Oh, you're like healthy and happy and moving. This is awesome. And yeah.
Yeah. And is that like a sign, and that's been my experience, that I'm in a good place, things are good, and I think that for the individual having the dream can be also an experience of peace and joy around it, because I think there's so much discomfort in our world and fear around death, and maybe there is an aspect that, okay, I'm a believer that it doesn't end here, but not everyone has a similar experience or belief. So I think there's an aspect of that too, is okay, they're just in a different place and at peace.
Yeah. Definitely.
Mm.
I'm with you in your beliefs. I look at death, it's been an obsession of mine. It's my mother passing.
Yeah.
Like, why? And so I look at it as a continuum.
Yeah.
But still, we're going to question it, right? We're human. And our conditioning, it's the unknown that we have to literally put faith and trust into.
Hmm.
So when we have these dreams and they're so real, just like my father coming through the other night, he's come through a couple times. You have this feeling inside. It's undescribable. Words are gonna make it too small.
Hmm.
That now, as we go through our days, we go through our years, we go through our weeks, the conditioning's still there. So we may detach from that a little bit until suddenly it happens again.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So I think it feels really good. And there's parts of it that, if we're not aware of it, can be a bit scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's love.
Yeah.
It's the frequency of love that we feel when that comes through, and that's powerful.
And it's such an interesting dichotomy when it comes to death itself, because it's the one thing we know for sure that happens, but then there's so much uncertainty of what happens after, and it's so fascinating. With dreams, though, it's also, you have people have different opinions about it. Sometimes people will dismiss it as, well, if you're thinking about something all day or leading up to going to bed, then it is only natural that you're going to have a dream about it because you're obsessed about something, for example. And then there's the other side, as you're sharing, that there is more here. And there's been stories, and you and I talked about this too, where, I mean, if you look at some historical stories, that some people found solutions to problems that they were unable to find during their waking state, and they go to sleep and immediately they've found a solution and they wake up and solve the problem that they've been trying to solve for so long. Yeah, how does that work? And is it really an aspect of us obsessing about something and then we're just able to just bring that up in our sleep?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one because I watch a movie and then I dream of the boat that was in the movie. But then why isn't everybody dreaming of the boat? Or why isn't everybody dreaming that? There's a message in there that you're going to relate to
Mm,
if you turn it over onto yourself. As for solving problems, oh my gosh, most definitely. I've created my dream series through my dream work because we're out of the mind. The neuroadrenaline chemical, it's early time it's down. It's when it's in our realm. And our we're bypassing the thinking rational mind, trying to figure it out. And we're coming into our heart. And that's where we create from. So that's why stuff comes through. Sleep on it, right?
yeah.
The light bulb, the theory of relativity was all done during Keith Richards, the Rolling Stones. First verse of Satisfaction, right? Came through as recorded himself sleeping. Most of it, he said, was boring and snoring, but that one verse came through. So much is happening that we're not even aware of. The minute we just say, you know what, I think I'm going to try this. And let's not put a lot of work into it because we need it to be sustainable
Hmm.
and then unattached. So yes, we can take our problems and come through in the morning. It happens all the time
Yeah.
because the rational mind is down. We're not beating it to the ground. And then if we're ruminating with something all day long, yeah, our dreams filter out the BS that comes through that we don't need. So that's happening too. And we might just be the observer of it. Oh, look at all that stuff I've got going on inside. Yeah. So we
Yeah.
can laugh at it. Let's look at our ancestors. So they're
Mm,
way back. They didn't go to dream dictionaries. They didn't have any of that. They used that. Which way do we move our tribe? Do we go west? Do we go east or the north or south? And they go to the dream person and the dream weaver in the tribe and say, which way? I dreamt we go that way. That's how we figured out our stuff.
yeah, for
Oh,
sure. And the other piece, I think we don't appreciate as much. I mean, there's obviously a lot more data coming out, but substances that affect our REM sleep, and what is the cost of that in terms of your well-being? I know immediately for people, when I'm working with them in the therapeutic standpoint, when they're drinking alcohol or they're smoking marijuana and it's affecting their REM sleep, we talk about that. We talk about, okay, you may feel like you're getting the 7 or 8 hours, but you're not feeling well rested because you're missing out on a huge component of your sleep. That the REM phase is significant for many reasons. And it also helps with your creativity. But what are your thoughts around that, generally speaking, because of the impact it's having and people not paying enough attention to it and dismissing it at times as well?
alcohol definitely suppresses our REM sleep. And it's interesting how we go to alcohol because we need to sleep.
Yeah.
But if we look at it, we're not really sleeping. We're not getting that deep sleep. And THC works with the system in a sense where it doesn't necessarily suppress REM sleep, but it shortens them all. Like you're not having as many, so you're not remembering your dreams and you're waking up tired. Over melatonining ourselves is another one
Yeah.
that's happening. And I think it's really important to understand that beyond dreams, we're hitting an NREM state. Our brain is getting cleaned out during
Mhm.
the NREM, the REM, and the NREM, where we are the beta amyloid protein
Yes.
connected to Alzheimer's that is not getting cleaned out. So,
Mhm.
could we look at Alzheimer's and ask, what was your sleep like?
Yeah.
Did you drink? Did you use cannabis? Could we correlate that? A study would have to be done, but it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then the other fascinating thing is when people do get off substances, for example, they have a surge of dreams because it's almost like you're obviously getting the REM sleep, but you're catching up on all these dreams for such a period of time. So I find that fascinating. The other thing I recently learned, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, is when people are experiencing depression, they also have early onset of REM sleep and it's more prolonged. So I wonder what the connection is there. What is our brain trying to tell us when we're experiencing depression?
Yes, we lack motivation, right? We don't want to do anything. Why? When we're sleeping, we're not in that state, and the body. We can look at this in so many different ways. We could look at it as science. We could look at it as spirituality. In spirituality, which I lean towards,
Yes.
is just being held by the soul. And we're going to move this through in your sleep. We're going to really heal you gently as you sleep. And so it's going to bring in more REM. Another thing, if we want to go more to the science, again, the default mode network is down, the ego is down. So we have more time. I really feel people with depression too, a lot of them are exhausted.
Mm.
There's a lot of exhaustion of I know that was for me. Like I did so much. I worked like 3 jobs just to do this and that. And so I was exhausted. So when I did sleep, it was long. So the body is going to do its part too, along with the brain. And we're
Yeah.
going to hit the amygdala. The amygdala is going to come in with the emotions, the hippocampus, and all that's going to come in more. So that is not a scientific study, but it's my experience personally, and then with my clients. And I've had healings in my dreams before
Mm.
in very spiritual forms. And when I've been in a really not good space, and it has been so comforting and so beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And we do
And
sleep more when we're depressed.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. But I think that's what becomes a bit disruptive for people, at least based on what I understood, was because it's the early onset of REM and it's so pronounced that it does trouble people even more. And to your point, if you're not ready to receive whatever it is, or you're not ready to heal, then it can often get in the way as opposed to just having that level of acceptance and
Get that
finding.
dysregulating.
Yeah, 100% for sure.
I have had clients who had trauma experiences and they smoke cannabis so they don't remember their dreams
Yeah.
because it's just too much. I think it's important too to realize that we're in charge. So we do have the ability to say, gentle, slow it down. I can only take so much. Please. I had a woman in my dream series and she just had these repetitive nightmares. They were so scary for her. And she's like, what do I do? And I'm like, I would just say, I get it. I'm listening. I hear you.
Yeah.
Let's be gentle. And they went away.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we have to remember that we're in charge.
Yeah, and I think our bodies are designed like when you think about how we're designed, it just blows my mind, and we're obviously a vessel in a way to receive all these pieces of information and knowledge and wisdom that sometimes we just, which brings me to the other thing I wanted to ask you about was just calming our nervous system, right? Especially in the world we find ourselves in, and a lot of it, you can make the case that even when we talk about depression, some of it is self-induced, but how are people regulating themselves and calming their nervous system, which plays into this whole topic of dream states. But why is that something that you focus on and is something of importance for you?
So we have our on-off switch of the brain, the glutamate and the GABA, right? So if the glutamate pedal is down, we're constantly driving, we're not going to be sleeping. So we want to make sure that GABA, we restore that. I do have people microdose Amanita Muscaria, which works directly with the central nervous system, and people begin sleeping. And then bringing in more REM, and then the dreams come in. I also feel that a lot of us take on so much energy during the day that a shower in the evening or a bath just to rinse the day off.
Yeah.
Ritual is huge. Intention and ritual. Breath work to soothe the nervous system. We have to start actually sleeping before we can really start working with our dreams. And I know here in the United States, 90% of Americans are sleep deprived, which
Mhm.
is really sad, right? So we have to really start bringing in that sleep state. I look at sleep as our number one medicine.
I agree.
And so if we're depressed and we're not sleeping, that's just feeding it, anxiety, all of that. So whether it's yoga, a walk at night, being in nature, our circadian rhythms need to come back into. So when I bring in microdosing, it's a rhythm resetting as our dreams reset our rhythms. So I think that's really where we need to start
Mhm.
is sleeping and that nervous system. Because if the on switch, the brain's like this, we're not going to sleep or we're going to wake up in the middle of the night and we're not going to fall back to sleep.
Mhm. Yeah, and I agree with you. I absolutely, because most of the time when I'm working with clients too, that's the biggest thing that comes to the forefront is their sleep is not where it needs to be, and people just don't put enough attention to it. So then they're having emotional reactions throughout the day, and that's what I try to reinforce is that sleep allows you to build that window of tolerance and have that capacity that obviously there's going to be stressful things throughout the day, but when you're sleeping well, you're well rested, it doesn't affect you as much because you have the capacity to navigate it and deal with it rather than reacting to everything or just feeling like you're on autopilot. And unfortunately, because of some of the things we've already talked about, whether it's alcohol use or cannabis use, or just generally cutting back on your sleep, not going to time, matching it up with your circadian rhythm, or scrolling and using your devices right up to bedtime. There's so many different ways we're impacting it. And sometimes it doesn't take a lot to improve your life. It's just start with your sleep. And then you'll notice you have way more energy and capacity to deal with everything else. And that's where it starts.
100%. 100%. But we how we treat ourselves when should we sleep? We like eat better.
Yes.
We are happier.
Yeah.
And there's really one really easy, simple thing is it's been shown that if we just go stand outside in the morning and get sun or daylight, that actually resets the circadian rhythms.
Yep.
Right there. That's it. Take a shower at night. And yeah, can we put our bones down?
Yeah.
That, yeah, we are very much attached, myself included, and
Hmm.
we what's our phones. I think coming back to basics, we can look back too at ancestors. They didn't have phones. They
Hmm.
didn't have all of this stuff, and they were sleeping and working with our dreams. And I feel that there's a part of us that right now, the way our world is, we're being asked to go back to this very basic, simple structure, but yet move that into our world now because we don't want to go backwards. It's not going to work. But
Hmm.
how do we bring that in? And I think it's about taking these moments of aligned selfishness. And I just need to be with me. I just
Hmm.
need to put my hand on my heart, put my hand on my belly, take some breaths, ask for some beautiful dreams, some beautiful guidance, some beautiful healing as I sleep tonight, and really just allowing ourselves those
Hmm.
moments.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, our we have to trust the design of our body because like you said, you get that early morning sunlight, you get that cortisol release naturally that's supposed to spike early in the morning, and then you ensure you're not disrupting the melatonin release before leading up to sleep, then you're letting the system work as it's meant to work rather than interfering with it and causing a lot of disruption. And like you said, it doesn't have to be like this crazy idea to fix your problems. All you have to do is function as you were meant to function rather than having all these things coming into play, whether it's your diet or how you spend your days cooped up inside. I'm guilty of it too, but trying to find ways to improve on those little things can make a huge difference. The other thing you touched on was Muscaria. Are you able to expand on that a little bit more? How are you using it in your work, and what are the benefits? And just from a grounding perspective, what is it even? Obviously, it falls under the psychedelic family, but are you able to expand on it a little bit more?
You know, it's interesting. Amanita muscaria isn't like the main mushroom that's talked about in the psychedelic world, and it runs differently than normal psychedelics. It runs with our GABA system rather than the serotonin system.
Yeah.
Like I said, it works directly with our central nervous system. Amanita muscaria is old. She's ancient. She's known as one of the oldest mushrooms on the planet, and she cannot be replicated. She can't be synthesized, and she can't be grown inside. She needs birch trees, she needs fir or pine to grow with. So she comes directly from the forest. She tills the field. She gets your a restoration. And I feel like we're so asking for restoration right now. So she brings back in during the day this all over sense of just calm. An ebb and flow comes back as it soothes the nervous system and GABA comes back in. At nighttime can restore sleep as our ruminating, looping mind is
Mhm.
soothed. And then if we do wake up, we're going back and our dreams begin to return, or we're remembering and they're always there. And so it moves us out of fight or flight into rest and digest. And then the vagus nerve can do what it's meant to do. Then the pineal gland that automatically is made to release melatonin begins working again. And this is over time. So she restores the body.
Mhm.
And I'm in awe of how she works with clients. I've had clients come off cannabis at night using Amanita instead for sleep. And that is powerful. And alcohol.
Mm. Yeah.
So we don't go to, she's not fixing in any means, not passive. Take an aspirin. It's about intention, ritual, and goes along with all the other stuff we do, the therapy, the breath work, the yoga, the exercise. It's not just do this, it's part of the circle.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't recall, but what regions of the world is it predominantly found in?
Here in the Pacific Northwest, some,
Yeah.
but Siberia is really big in, and Germany up in the Bavarian Alps and over in those areas. Yes,
Yeah.
Europe.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. I'm always fascinated based on the origin too, right? And there's stories that some of these plants are found in all parts of the world, depending on the history, but often some of that historical information either gets removed or goes missing.
And I think too, like these medicines are not an escape.
Mhm.
They're not a fixing. They bring back a remembering. And at one time, through our ancestors, they actually were led to the plants through their dreams. Now I feel that plants are leading us back to our dreams, back to our wholeness, back to ourself.
Yeah. And coming back to dreams, you've talked about your dream series. Are you able to share a little bit more about what the dream series are about and what type of work you're doing in that aspect?
Yeah, around in the seasons. So like my fall one would be harvesting everything we've planted in the summer and working with our dreams and creating it's a 4-week online. And you have the option to microdose Amanita alongside of it. Don't need to. But we just began working with the dreams. We as a circle, it's a communal circle, and we bring back our wellness, our wholeness, and our remembering through our dreams. We become those co-creators that we're here to be. So we ignite our creativity. We work through healing ourselves in a way that we're not constantly doing. So it's just learning to incorporate and bring them back, and it's the remembering, like we
Mm.
remember ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, that's such a powerful reminder. But in that, I also hear a lot of agency that as you're sharing, and I don't know if that aligns for you too, but being a co-creator, healing yourself. And I think we've lost sight of that, that we have so much agency in our life and we don't need to, like you've said a couple of times, outsource everything. The wisdom's within us, and sometimes, like you said, by remembering it or even turning inward, we can find it and Yeah, sometimes for me too, I have to remind myself that the answers are already within. I just need to go looking for it.
The conditioning, right?
Yeah.
And the conditioning is brought with experiences, the pleaser within us doing all this. But we have subconscious intelligence, we have inner being intelligence, and we learn to feel. And then we become co-creators from our soul, from the
Mm,
heart, and that's when things really happen in life. And we're out of struggle and survival. So when we begin remembering how to work with ourselves on a whole level, and I believe that can be done in our sleep, we become the soul creators that we're here to be.
mm,
And
mhm.
it's a remembering, not a learning. We always
Yeah.
want to learn things, which I think is great. I'm always saying I'll probably be in some type of class till 95 years
Yeah.
old or something.
Yeah.
So knowledge and all that is beautiful and my body craves it. But let's remember who we are. Let's not, there was a time when learning meant I'll do this and then I'll be where I want to be. That's not, yeah. So
Right.
that's right. The outsourcing, we're going inwards.
Mhm.
We're building our own intuition. We're expanding cognitively in our brain.
Yes.
Yeah. Where it's beyond powerful and it's right there.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
For sure. And there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom, right? And I don't think we discern between the two often.
That well said. Yeah. And wisdom is that knowing. And when we tap into that, we might get this weird word in our dream. And I'm like, oh, that's super cool, but that's not in my language. What is that? And so we might do some research on that. Oh, I want to know more about that. And that's where that knowledge piece comes in.
Mhm.
But I think all my one-on-ones always bring in the dream work. It just goes one on
Mhm.
one with me when I'm working with people, just hand in hand
Right.
comes in.
Yeah.
And most of all, we hear, I don't dream. I don't remember dreams. I'm like, you do dream. And yeah, let's start.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, Lynda, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for sharing so much of your wisdom with me today and the listeners as well. But I know we touched on so many aspects of the dream world, but then brought in other pieces too. But is there anything else you feel like we didn't cover and would be of importance to share with the listeners today?
In this world that we're in right now, that's just so chaotic and so fast moving, if we don't begin to slow down and come inward on whatever that means. And I know sometimes in meditation, I don't have time moving that into that sleep state. We're just going to continue to be sick. And so bringing in, I always say, aligned selfishness and taking care of ourselves so that we remember who we are there instead of remembering here. And it's being asked right now in this time to come forward.
Mhm.
I studied with an African shaman last summer, and in the Kosa tribe, if you're not remembering your dreams, you're sick.
Mm,
And you're taken in by an elder and they watch you and they bring your dreams back because if you're sick, your whole community is.
mm.
So as we heal ourselves, others will heal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's so much power in that. And I truly believe in that, that by healing ourselves, we can influence other people too, which I think simplifies things too, because then you don't necessarily need to focus on the outside world where the tendency is, oh, look at what's going on all around us. It's just bring it back to yourself and lead by example. And that can just simplify things for everyone if we all truly did that.
Yeah, the illusion of the control out here, right, is very disempowering. But when you say, oh, all I have to do is do me, then that's easy. And
Yeah,
that really is what it's about. And it
sure.
takes a moment to just bring that remembering back in.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Lynda, thank you so much for this conversation. Really appreciate it. Now, for listeners that want to know more about you, find your work, what are some ways they can do that?
On Instagram, and I'm on my website at lwsamphire.com. And all my information's there. You can get my social medias, all my events coming up. I hold retreats and stuff. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put all of that in the show notes, but thank you again for the conversation today. And I'm looking forward to learning more about dreams.
Yeah, you'll probably have some big ones, and your listeners listening to this will actually probably have dreams come in. It always happens. Yeah.
Great. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So much. Yeah.